when I'm poised, I'm ready, I'm poised. 4, 2, 1.
5, 2.
e-cigs.co.uk, sponsors of the Haze Hour.
There we are. Here we are. It's Thursday.
Really?
Like it is every week.
Doesn't it pass by quickly?
What does?
From one Thursday to the next.
It's it. I tell you what. When you get a look at the date today, which is the 2020. What the hell is it? The 26th of February.
Yes, that's
Doesn't
right.
It doesn't seem like 5 minutes since it was Christmas.
It doesn't. You're right. It's an age thing, you know. As you get older, the time passes more quickly.
Is that right?
So they say, yeah.
Well, I'm shocked and stunned. Not to say stunned and shocked.
You know, a week since the last show.
I know it is the last show that we did a week ago. It's been a week since.
Quite.
Yes, it's gonna be. Yes, I'm gonna do the stuff we didn't do last week that we were gonna do last week, but didn't get time to do last week, even though we overran last week. So we'll be doing that tonight. The Solara conversion thing. There's been a bit in the paper up here, up in the northeast. It's a little bit of news, and I quite like what's been in the paper up here. And what else? Oh yes. I've got some fairly hefty hoopy gear. One's called the Tesla, and the other one, I'm not telling you what it's called because you can't get it yet. I'm just going to tease you. That's tonight on the show.
Right.
Oh, it'll be corking, it'll be cracking, it'll be wonderful, it'll be marvellous.
Right.
And that'll be after the Tittles. And I can't remember which one that is. Is it that one? I think it might be. Yeah. Shall we do the titles?
I think so. I thought you'd forgotten them.
No. I was going to say I never forget, but I do frequently. So we shall say hello.
Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening.
And welcome to
The Haze Hour.
So I've just said in chat we got the Haze Hour duet bit perfectly on cue.
I was going to ask you before we started when you're going to put your Christmas tree away. Your upside down Christmas tree.
Well, it's away, it's in its box.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be in the studio, should it?
Well, wouldn't anywhere else to put it.
Right.
I can't get it in the loft because the loft's not high enough.
Uh-huh.
And here's the thing, my hole's not big enough to get it through because it's a big long one and it doesn't fold up.
Will it not go through that door?
Well, it'll go through the door, but there's nowhere in the garage.
All right.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, anybody that keeps a car in a garage, there's something wrong with them, I'm
Well,
convinced.
no one round here does.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. You ever seen a picture of a man using an e-cig? I'll show you one. Look, that is a picture of a man using an e-cig on an iPad. He's not using the e-cig on the iPad, the picture's on the iPad. But it's at the top of a piece that was in, look, it says here, The Journal, which is one of our local papers, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes. The Journal and Chronicle, Newcastle, is what it is. And it says, if we get the decision on e-cigs wrong, it could cost many lives. That's what it says here, by the Journal. North East UKIP Euro MP Jonathan Arnott, there's a surname to juggle with, argues that if e-cigarettes are banned, it could cost us very, very dear. I'll save that image, even though it's There you are. So that was the picture of a man smoking, and it says here, I've never smoked a cigarette in my life. I just don't trust myself to not to enjoy it too much and to become addicted. When I was a teenager and my friends were trying cigarettes, I chose not to for that reason. He's a good lad. Listen to his mum when he was getting dragged up. Normally I'd be the last person to write an article about smoking, but recently I've noticed that many, if not most, of my friends who smoke have replaced their cigarettes with e-cigarettes. And this is where I've got a bit of technology going. Well, I've animated the page being swiped. It makes it look like there's a finger doing it. It says, some have tried for years and failed to quit smoking altogether. So I'm happy to see that them doing something which is much less unhealthy. And here in the northeast, we have the highest rates of smoking in the country. That's true, that.
That's right.
Now, after a couple of in Staffordshire were barred from adopting because one of them had used an e-cigarette, we learn that North Tyneside and Durham councils have similar rules, flying in the face of advice from Public Health England and the fostering network, depriving children of loving families.
Now that links in, doesn't it, with the other article?
Oh, it does, definitely. Over 1 million former smokers are now looking nervously towards our government and especially to the European Union. From proposals to make e-cigarettes into pharmaceutical products to the notion of adding punitive taxation like we do with traditional cigarettes, we need to think very carefully indeed before taking action. If we discourage e-cigarettes through taxation, we will stop the move from traditional cigarettes to e-cigarettes. Yet my experience in the European Parliament, that was clever, stop it. My experience in the European Parliament is it's exactly what MPs across Europe are desperate to do. But then the European Parliament itself is perfectly happy to have indoor smoking areas. It's one rule for us MEPs, and another for the general public. The medical science behind e-cigarettes is not yet fully settled. It seems to be generally agreed that e-cigarettes are not fully safe, which is perfectly true because, as Linda Bolt said, nothing is. It seems to be generally agreed that the health risks are much lower than those of regular cigarettes. Professor Robert West and Dr. Jamie Brown of UCL have claimed in the British Journal of General Practice that for every 1 million people who switch from traditional cigarettes to e-cigarettes, 6,000 lives will be saved every year. When I pointed out on Twitter that I oppose EU plans to slap more taxes on e-cigarettes, I was directed to a study which finds that e-cigarette vapour damages the immune systems of mice. It's speculated that the unexpected presence of free radicals might account for this. So, hey, I tell you what, hang on, just a minute, let's just get in there. They keep on saying that vapors are trolls, you know, and that we attack anybody that says anything against us, but apparently the antis do exactly the same. So, you know, what's good for the goose. Anyway, back with it. But the same study, it says here, also pointed out that with cigarette smoke, the levels of free radicals are roughly 100 times as high. Tobacco and tar aren't generally present in e-cigarettes either. They contain fewer toxins and carcinogens overall. In the absence of a definitive study, we have to accept that the risks associated with e-cigarettes are substantive, but they are much less bad than smoking traditional cigarettes. Likewise, if there is a danger with passive inhalation of vapour from e-cigarettes, then it's clearly of an order of magnitude much lower than that of second-hand cigarette smoke. Nicotine is an addictive substance, there's no doubt about that. The European Union claims to be concerned that e-cigarettes will become a gateway to traditional cigarettes, but this seems to be an overstated concern. He's not wrong, this lad, is he? According to the Office of National Statistics, just 0.14% of those who use e-cigarettes have never smoked traditional cigarettes. And it goes on and it goes on and it goes on for not a great deal longer, but here's the thing, right the way at the bottom. It's to do with saving lives, and where legislation is proposed that would stop people moving from cigarettes to e-cigarettes, there is a serious danger that tens of thousands of lives would be lost as a result. Jonathan Arnott is UKIP MEP for the North East. What do you make of that?
I'm just wondering what his motives are for, he's writing an article there for a North East paper. I wonder what's led to that, if you know what I mean. I mean, that seems quite a long, substantive article, doesn't it?
I think it's a very, very good article, if I'm to be honest.
Oh, it is a good article.
It's cracking. Yes. Yes, it actually is telling the story like it is. That's, if you like, that's the plain speaking, ordinary English version of what Derek Yak came up with last week.
I wasn't aware that MEPs could actually smoke themselves within the Parliament buildings. Is that what he was?
We've seen it firsthand, haven't I? They smoke in their offices, whether they're supposed to or not. They've got little, it's like a little telephone booth, only bigger, like a double shower in the bar where they can go and sit. There's 2 or 3 of them, and they can sit in there and have a fag.
Talk about rank hypocrisy.
Well, yes, but that's...
Well, of course, there was something in today's paper about you're going to have to tax and insure your lawnmower along with your car. That's the latest thing.
I know it's not e-cigs, but what?
Well,
Tax and insure your lawnmower?
Yes.
What the hell for?
Well, you know, just another piece of mind-boggling bureaucracy.
I give up. I absolutely give up. Yes, now then.
But at least in 2 years' time, there's going to be the science available to have a head transplant.
A head transplant?
Yes.
Why on earth would anybody want one of them?
I don't know. I haven't read it.
I'll tell you what it is. There are people in this world are doing my nappering, they are, and I'll tell you for why as well. It's my firm belief that we are here for a short time, and a good time, not a long time. And there was some plonker somewhere saying that if you were brought up in a completely sterile environment, right, with no germs around you, no exposure to second-hand smoke, not just from cigarettes, but from coal fires, from diesel, from all of that. In other words, if the Greens got their own way, right?
Yes.
They reckon, this plonker, that they've got medical advancements so that people will live to be 150. 150 years old, and, get this, there was no reason why they couldn't extend that to 200. What the hell is the point?
None. But who would want to live till that age?
It's that Labour peer that's got the bushy tash.
Labour peer.
Robert...
Winston?
Aye, Robert Winston.
Professor Robert Winston.
Professor Robert Winston. He was the one that was saying that with the way things are currently, that would make people live to normal average lifespan, that they would get to 150, and there was no reason why they couldn't make 200. Can you imagine?
Well, in a way, that fits in with a head transplant, doesn't
where
it?
the hell are you going to get the pensions from? Ridiculous. So let's talk about e-cigs, eh?
Yes.
Because head transplants are limited to 200.
So how much do you think that links in, that article, with the Mail on Sunday article?
About the adoptions. I think it's part and parcel of the same thing. What I'm saying in chat is that Nigel Farage has done something very similar, and that this is UKIP policy.
What is?
That exactly what was in that piece.
Right.
What Jonathan Arnott's outlined in that piece is UKIP policy. That's the way UKIP views e-cigs.
Right.
So they're acknowledging that yes, there's the potential, maybe, possibly, just might, maybe be the slightest wee bit of danger. But like nothing's risk-free. But otherwise, it's all gung-ho.
But as we said the week before last, the last paragraph of that guy's article sums it up. The saving of lives.
Yes. E-cigs save lives. It's that simple. I mean, it's difficult to look at it any other way, isn't it?
You know, you can go into all the conflicting scientific evidence and data, but I mean, there is data available from eminent people.
Yes.
Who categorically say that it's about the saving of lives. Do you really need to go any further than that piece of evidence?
Well, I don't think so.
No, neither do I.
When you look at, I mean, if you listen to John Britton, you listen to Linda Bold, you listen to Robert West, you listen to Anne McNeil, you listen to Clive Bates, you listen to Jean-Francois Etter, you listen to Jacques Loisec, you listen to all kinds of extremely eminent people that know about these things, and that is what they're looking at. And I'll tell you what really gets to me, and it's been grinding me gears.
Grinding your gears.
Grinding me gears and boiling me piss for years. The thing that they are apparently, supposedly against is COPD, lung cancer, cancer of the pancreas, and all of the other nasties that they say are caused by smoking. Those are the enemy, right? But with all this bloody plain packaging malarkey and everything else that they get up to, they see the enemy not as the things that kill people, they see the enemy as being the bloody tobacco companies.
Yes.
And it seems to me it's about time they got their heads out of their arses. As Sav and I were saying last night, they've taken them off and sat on them. They need to get their heads out of their arses and start looking at what is a complete and utter game changer. And that is these things. It's e-cigs. They know. I mean, it's beyond doubt. Consensus is there. These things are a minimum of 95% less risky than smoking lit tobacco, if you believe what we've been told by tobacco control for the last 35 or 40 years. And if that's the case, why these people can't just throw their weight behind them and put the money that they're spending following vapors on Twitter and on Facebook to try and find out what it is we say, why don't they put that money into researching how to make an e-cigs better?
It's because it's just another example of bureaucracy and control from the ruling classes.
It's another bloody example of troughters following the money and getting their snouts in the public money trough. That's what it is. Sorry, I did not mean to rant, but there you go. I mean, you know, when you look at a certain professor across in California, $6.7 million in grants last year. $6.7 million in grants to study fags and smoking and e-cigs and take the piss out of us.
Yes.
You know? Well, I'm here to tell you, everything he's come up with, which is wrong, he could have done that on the back of a fag packet for $5 for the coffee he was drinking while he wrote it out.
Well, it's like so many other things, isn't it?
Yes. I did notice, mind, and I probably need to kind of say it, because I'm losing will to live. Well, I'm not losing the will to live, I'm losing track of it. But while I'm on the roll and while I'm ranting, the World Health Organization apparently is making a shed load of money available for people to be tested for radon gas, which apparently now is creeping up on the rails as being one of the major causes of lung cancer.
Right.
Right?
I hadn't heard that.
Yes, more on that anon. I got a piece of information tweeted at me. I don't think it was confidential, but yes, apparently radon gas. So down in the antipodes, they're checking it out, because although in Australia they've got one of the lowest smoking rates, they haven't seen that much of a reduction in lung cancer. So they've finally cottoned on. Might not be fags what does it. Interesting, isn't it?
And of course, diesel vehicles, that interesting programme on the television a couple of weeks ago. Everyone encouraged to buy diesel.
Yes.
And now they're saying that, you know, if you're behind a car that's throwing out diesel from its exhaust, you get all sorts of nasties.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because if people watching this do nothing else tonight, go and have a look at the Asita blogs. The one Tom Pruen wrote today. It's corking. I'm not going to give the game away. You've got to read it. I'm not going to tell you what it's about, but you've dropped a subtle hint there.
Right.
And it's well worth reading. It's a fabulous piece of writing. It's a bit like a whodunit.
All right.
It's a bit like a whodunit, but I think it makes the point exceptionally well. Good Lord, it's nearly 20 past.
Yes.
and not a burn in the house washed. Shocking, isn't it?
Terrible.
I think we better take some adverts because we've got a lot of other stuff to cover.
Yes.
When we come back after the adverts, what we're going to do, I'll show you the video about how we did the conversion on the Booty Solara, and it's interesting. But that'll be after the adverts, and we will be back in a couple of minutes. So go down nowhere. But if you go and get one for me, see you shortly.
Sub-ohm.co.uk, sponsors of the Haze Hour.
Often imitated, never duplicated. Award-winning service and products from cloud9vaping.co.uk.
Vapors, Dripper just got 40% bigger. So if you love discovering new e-liquids, tell Dripper what flavours you like and we'll send you 70ml of juice and at least 5 flavours. With a money-back guarantee and free delivery anywhere in Europe, dripper.co.uk.
LP Vape, UK purveyor of e-cigarettes and e-liquids. Proud sponsors of vaping entertainment on Vapor Trails TV.
What's in this e-cig cloud? Harmless water vapour, right? Pretty much, yes. Compared to a lit cigarette, it's much safer than smoke. But it contains nicotine, and nicotine on its own isn't toxic and doesn't cause cancer. If you're worried about switching to vapour, here are some facts. No tar, no smoke, no burnt tobacco. Cooking your evening meal produces more toxins than are found in exhaled vapour. Tobacco smoke contains toxins at very high levels, and vapour does not. And that vapour contains 6,000 times less carcinogens than cigarette smoke. Electronic cigarette vapour. There's nothing to be frightened of. The only dangerous electronic cigarette is a banned one.
Sub-ohm.co.uk, sponsors of the Haze Hour.
Got all the power, Sav. Yes, I was just reading out to Sav what was written in chat. You have all the power, woman. She does, it's true. She could pull the plug on us at any given point in time.
Sure. Yeah.
Could just
Yes.
yank and it's gone like that.
Yes.
Now, but
Very powerful position, that.
But, Sav and Kat are to blame for the next piece, and I shall tell you for why. And I'm going to put some bits and bobs down under closey up you can, because it's closey up and go to closey up you can, David. There you go. Right. Look. That there is a Solara, right? That's what that is. Solara DNA 30 with a real DNA 30 in it. And it is a really rather nice piece of kit.
Well, I like the gold.
Oh, well,
that's very
yeah, that doesn't come with it, obviously.
Yeah.
But they were waxing lyrical about the Solara, the pair of them. They really like them, right? So I got one.
Looks quite upmarket, doesn't it? To look at it.
Yeah, it's not bad, you know. It's not a bad piece of kit. So I got one, and I got one the day before I got a DNA 40. Now I use it, I do use it in DNA 30 mode, and I thought to myself, if ever there was a form factor that really wanted a DNA 40 put in it, then this would be it. So being the kind of lad I am, I took it to
I
bits.
thought you would.
Well, you do, you have to. So I took it to bits and had a look at it, and I thought, no, I'm not going to convert that one because it's too nice to bugger up. He said, trying to not show the scratches where he forced the sides off. Right?
Right.
However, a wee while back, that one came on the market. It's called a Shield, and it's very, 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 very similar to a Solara.
Isn't it?
In fact, it's a copy. And I thought to myself, I'll take that one to bits because I think they were about 35 quid or something. They weren't very expensive anyway. So I thought, right, I'll take one to bits and I'll see if I can get a DNA 40 into it. So this is what happened. So what we have here in what appears to be a jumble of bits is, in actual fact, it's a Solara clone. They appeared on the site that shall not be named a while ago, and because I like the form factor of the Solara, I thought I would order a couple up and see if I could get DNA 40s into them. So this is what arrived. It's called a Shield and it looks quite nice. So what I've done is to have disassembled it so the whole of this black area is not there anymore. As you can see, I'm left with the guts of it, as it were. Battery, the controller board, and then the whole of the assembly that handles all of that kind of stuff. And in order to get it to bits, I had to take this faceplate off that covers everything over. It's all working off the buttons on the board, fire button, up and downy buttons. So what I'm going to do now is desolder all of this and then see if I can't get it all put back together with a DNA 40 in it. So we'll start by desoldering, and not going to be the easiest of jobs, but we'll get there. Power out, come on. And since I'm unlikely to be reusing the board, I'm not too worried about whoops, that wasn't clever. Just as well I wasn't bothered. I'm going to have to snip that. Yeah, snippage. Right, that's the battery disconnected. Whew, and that is quite hot. Very hot, in fact. I am just going to snip these off. Yes, that had released the magic blue smoke that makes electronic things work. It's now knackered, so that'll be bitty. That's to bin. So now, having done that, we need to reconnect everything up and get everything going the way it ought to be, which is going to mean making joints and actually getting everything sorted out. So there's the first rule of thumb. When you're doing these things, don't short your batteries out. While we're looking at it, 7.7 watt hour, what is it? Oh, have a look and see. 18650D YDL No idea. Worth looking at. Right, I've got the sled out, and here it is. After that slight mishap, that this DNA 40 will sit exactly the right distance up in this little sled, and then this top part is meant to go over it. This here is the negative pole. Let's use a little pointer. That is the negative pole to which I need to attach this, and it has to come out through there. So I'm going to need to do some cutting to make sure that all the wires can get in, and also this chip here needs to be free so that the outside will keep the board properly pressed down, otherwise we'll not get any connection made on the button presses at the bottom. So I'm going to start cutting these bits and bobs out. So right, there we are. I've nibbled everything away. You can see now that everything sits as it should do, and importantly the case will close side to side, which is what we want, and that will hold everything down solid. So now it's a case of making the connections, and I've got to do these in the right order, otherwise it's all going to go bang. I've got to say it is really fiddly, but it would appear to have gone back together properly. Let's turn it round, press the button, check atomizer, it's locked, it's back. That is a full DNA 40 as it should be. Now the big thing is here, these buttons don't stick through so far, but with a fingernail you can see all the way up 240 watts and all the way back down. And in actual fact, once you know where you want to be, that's probably all you're going to need. Lovely. Lock it and put the case back on. Right, just before I put the case back on, where have things been different from where they were? Right, here, the earth lead, the negative lead, there is a post down there. I've gone with where the sled mounts. Other gotchas, as I say, we've got to cut various bits out of the top of the sled in order to make it fit, and it's always going to be a good idea just to take off that negative before you even think about getting started on sorting stuff out. Right, so making sure I get this the right way around. Negative at the top, the battery slides in first to there, and then we have to get this back on, and this is probably the most difficult part. Well, it's not the most difficult part, it's not the easiest of jobs to do, isn't this? It's taken a little bit longer than I thought it might because of this whole it not being designed for a real DNA 40 but for a booty one. But now that we've got that sorted out, and start screwing it back together. That's it. So that's all of that back in place by the looks of things. Yep. And we put the long screws in at the top, I believe. Yep. So what was the Solara clone is now DNA 40. 2 screws in the bottom. The actual thing's quite neat as you get it, you know, I can't really complain about that. It seems to work. Okay, that's it. And now, what I need to do is stick a nickel coil cut device on. There it is. Five clicks. 0.1 ohm, which is where it is, 0.2. Let's get some power on it, because 10.4 watts is nowhere close to big enough. .25 would be where I normally work this. That'll do. That's it, done. Gonna want to charge, so we'll check that out. Okay. Yes. Aha. Press the right button, David. Press it. There you go. The question was asked, how many DNA 40 boards have I got lying around? I keep taking them out of things and building them into others. Is what I'm doing. I'm trying things out, trying it out and finding form factors I like. And that one stuck with me. To answer a few other questions, yes, it was a Booty DNA 30 that was in it. It wasn't a real one. Didn't work properly like a real one. It was the shape. Purely and simply the shape that I particularly liked. That's Keith. That's close up we can't play go. So that's the beastie. That's it. And it works as you would expect a DNA 40 to work, which is you know what you would want in it really. I bet you were enthralled with that, weren't you?
Mesmerised, the word, I think. Yes.
Yes. Well, it's okay.
Yes,
you don't need to worry about it.
I was comatose.
Were you?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, you wouldn't be interested because you haven't got a beard. And as chat has pointed out, men with beards, DNA 40s, that's the way it goes. And there is a DNA 25 available for those of you that are interested. But I'm also going to tell you that piece of kit, Kat's got one. Hasn't she? Yes. And she quite likes that. She might talk to you about it if you ask her nicely. We want to take a quick break. And when we get back after the break, we are going to have a look at that. That there is what you call a Tesla. It's wood and it does 120 watts. That's 80 more than a DNA 40. And I've got something on top that I'm not even going to tell you what it's called. I'm just going to show you a little bit about it and tease you on. But that'll be after the break. We'll be back in a couple of minutes. Div not gone anywhere. I believe that's the correct phraseology, terminology type wordy thing.
Aye, I think so.
Yes. Just before we do go, I'd snip the wires off flush. I will say, if you're going to attempt that, disconnect the negative wire from the battery before you do anything else. That way it won't go bang, because it wasn't intentional for me to go bang. I hadn't meant it to happen. It did, because I was the klutz. There you go. Back in 2.
SaveTheSigs.co.uk, sponsors of the Haze Hour.
UK are proud sponsors of vapetrails.tv.
Safersigs.co.uk, sponsors of the Haze Hour.
Yes, and we're back in the room. Welcome back to the Haze Hour here on the 26th of February with me, Dave, and my friend Keith.
Yes. Why do you always tell them the date? The 26th, yeah.
Well, because it goes on video on demand, you see.
Ah, of course.
So people
yes,
might want to know when it
course.
went out, so they've got a reference as to when something came onto the market. Plus, we quite often use it in competitions as well.
A logical answer. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. You're very welcome. Shall we have a look at the Tesla?
Yes.
Have a look at the Tesla.
Looks very rustic.
Very
doesn't
rustic. It's wood. It's made in wood, look. And this is a 120 watt device, is this. Get it where people can see it, David. Press the button and it switches on. I've got it set to 50 watts at the minute.
Right.
Right?
50
And
watts.
I've got, I mean, it's wood. Look, I mean, this is not going to be the world's longest overview. Magnetic closure to the top. You can see where the plus and minus buttons are here. This is the fire button, and it tells you that there's no atomizer. Isn't that clever?
Yes.
Yes. Nice, decent top cap on it, which has a screwable uppy-downy centre post.
All right.
So for people that, you know, screw things down far over too tight, you can screw the thing back up.
Right.
And it is in fact not too badly built. The top to get into the battery compartment is magnetic, and there is the battery compartmento, right, and a little ribbon so you can pull the batteries out. And again, even under this light, you will see the pluses and minuses, and anybody worth their salt will realise it takes the batteries in series rather than in parallel, and you do need to use good ones, which is why I've got these AWTs, which I quite like. I've had it to bits. I've had this top off and I've had a look inside, and it's using wire like a bull's lug in order to be able to put the right amount of current in the right amount of places. And look at this, he's checking that he's got his batteries the right way up, which I have. We'll put them in. So these are high drain. That's why you couldn't get that out with your finger. You'd snap your fingernail. And then, as I say, it's magnetic closure with.
Pretty robust, isn't it? I think that's the word.
Yes, robust. It's available in wood and it's available in metal. It's available in both. Now, I'm not going to tell you the name of what I'm screwing on. They're both going to be available from the same place. That would be TW in their warehouse department.
Right.
Right? So I'm not going to tell you the name of this because this is not available to anybody yet. There's 5 or 6 in the country and I've got one of them. So I'm not going to go and tell everybody about that. But the Tesla, right, oh yes, that's what I need to do. Go back to close up you can, David. Forgetting where you're at. Let's switch it on with 5 clicks. And you'll see it says King's Own Tesla, that's what it's called. System on, right? And that's all upside down, isn't it?
Yes.
That's no good to me. So what I do, all you need to do is hold down the plus and minus and swaps over so you can see it the other way on.
Ah.
That's clever, isn't it?
Very clever.
And it's 5 clicks on, 5 clicks off. There you are, Tesla. System off. See, 5 clicks. Reptile Keeper's just asked, could you fit a DNA 40 chip in there? I don't want to, and I'll show you for why. because this goes much higher than 40. This goes, I'm going to go down over, did you say that go? To 120 watts.
That's 10 times what I've got this set
That's
at.
10 times what you've got that set up, yes. I'm gonna take it down to around about 80. Just to start off with. Well, no, I'll go to 50 first. And then I'm just going to leave it to fester for a little while. It's very responsive, as you can see. And I'll have a drag at 50 and then talk about a little bit. I mean, right, now, you need to listen. I'm going to go on closely up on me, and you need to listen. For when, you'll see when my finger hits the button, and then listen. There's a little bit of a delay while it sorts its bits out and gets working. Listen. That's at 50 watts. Right? Let's go back to closely uppy cam. Badoink. And let's go up. Let's go up to 80. Whee! Oh, that wasn't. Oh, 90 will do. 90's alright. Oh, sort of go for the 100, David. I think there might be somebody in chat who might have a little bit of an interest in this, who uses much warmer than that. Right, that's 100 watts. And again, I'm just going to show you that there. And you can see it's a tank, right? Mm-hmm. Not many tanks will handle 100 watts. You ready for this? I'm not going to give you a drag of it.
I wouldn't want one, thank you.
Right. It's going to be, you know how on the machines, you know how on the machines they do the 2-second draws? Here we go. You've got to be very quick.
I bet you have.
Very quick. It'll handle it, but I've got to be honest and say that it's better. That's way too hot for me. I've been happy with it. Come up a bit. I wish it would slow down. At 80 watts. At 80 watts, it's handleable. And that is at 7.1 volts is what that's at. For those of you that are interested in such things. It might want a little bit more juice in it, I don't know. But it doesn't half produce.
Do you think there are many people who'd regularly use it at its maximum wattage?
Yes. There are some. They are what's called cloud chasers. For me, up at that kind of area, it's too hot. For me.
Right.
I'm not used to it that hot. 50 watts for me is about right. I can live with that, quite nice. But that seems to be working quite well, quite nicely. Available in both wood and metal, or will be.
Right.
Now, I'm not going to go too closely uppy on the tank itself. I want to show you something. That there is a Nautilus coil. And you'll see just above the little blue ring, because this is a temperature sensing one, that's the air hole, not the air hole, the juice hole, and there are 4 of them, tiny little wee things, yes? I shall leave that there. And beside it, I will put an OCC coil out of a sub-tank, and there's the juice hole, of which there are 2, for an OCC tank. And I'm now going to bring in the atomizer for this new piece of kit, the name of which I'm not going to tell you, and look at the size of the juice channel in that. Look at the size of the juice channel in that. That lets acres and acres and acres of juice through. And I said it was going to be a tease, and it is a tease, because that particular device, it's going to be called a Typhoon, is not available yet. When it is available, I will go through the Typhoon at some depth. Suffice it to say, for the moment, it's blitzing. I love it.
When you say that most tanks wouldn't handle that high wattage, what would happen?
You would get what is known in the trade as a dry hit.
Right.
It would vaporise the juice too quick. Now, there's one of the guys, Graham God's 1001 Entwistle, right? And he's got rebuildable dripper natties that don't work for him below 120 watts. Right? He's running very, very high, but it's absolutely soaked in juice. And if you know what you're doing, that's fine. Right? If you don't know what you're doing, you are asking to get dry hits left, right and centre. And you know when you get one because it hurts. It doesn't just taste nasty, it hurts. It physically hurts. It tears the back of your throat out. So this Tesla, which I think is going to be around about the 80-90 pounds mark, it's not something for the raw recruit. It is not something for a beginner in either wood or metal. That is there for somebody that knows what they're doing and has the atties to be able to handle it. Right? Having said that, it seems like a fairly solid piece of kit, and it's something that I'm not the biggest fan of stacked batteries, I've got to say, but having had a look at the wiring inside that, it's robust.
So what you're saying, really, it's for the purist. It's probably got a sort of limited number of usage or users.
It's not going to appeal to the masses, that's for sure. You've got to be using something on top of it that's going to handle the amount of power that's going through there, and the only way you can do that is with airflow. Hence that trick I was doing last night.
Oh yes.
And that really do good grief.
Yes.
That really do. Oh look, it's almost a halo. No, Angelica, what? Oh, I've got to try that and see what it looks like. There you go. That's close up. That's how much it's going
Bloody
away.
hell.
If you've got the lungs to be able to, and that's not dry. That'll tell you. Sav's, you can't say it, but Sav's sitting here with her jaw going, what? Let's go back, look at the state of that. Seriously.
You see, in the wrong hands, you wonder.
In the wrong hand. I mean, this is not anything that people want to be running out and buying willy-nilly. You've got to know what you're doing. It's not meant for just Tom, Dick or Harry. You've got to know what you're doing to be using something like that.
Right, just playing devil's advocate here, is there not a case for saying that does nothing for the sort of reputation of e-cigs?
Why? I'm interested why you would say that.
Well, because in the wrong hands, it could do harm.
I think it's right. If you were to go walking as a raw recruit to e-cigs, if you were to go walking into a vape shop and they put one of those in your hands, knowing that you were a raw recruit, I would be.
That would be irresponsible.
It would be
wouldn't
completely irresponsible. You would want, somebody would need to put their foot on your backside if you did that. You have got to know what you're doing before you even contemplate going up to that kind of level.
Mm.
It's not somewhere I would play. It's too hot for me, and I don't want this all the time.
Mm.
I don't want to be in a situation where I'm sitting somewhere and setting alarms off.
Yes.
And it will set alarms off. That much I can guarantee. In fact, I tell you what, this is called flying by the seat of your pants. I did say the other week that the fire brigade had been around giving free fire alarms out, didn't I?
Yes, we got one.
Yes.
Yeah.
I got a spare one. I'm going to go and get it while they're coming up some, and I'm going to show you what this will do. We'll be back when you've found out what's coming up next week. Well, that was interesting. Oops. That was all working earlier on. Now, I've got this thing. Ah, right, I've worked out how you do it now. So here it is, the fire alarm, right? This is brand new in the box, and all I'm going to do is connect this thing on that you put on to switch it on, and that's it switched on. Test it. Okay, that's it working, right?
Right.
Now then, you will which camera? That camera, right? It's there. That's it there, and you've heard it. And here is the beastie.
Bloody hell.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Do it again.
Either. Well.
Maybe it needs to be upside down.
Oh yes, of course. No.
There you go.
That's
Get the right
interesting,
smoke alarm.
that.
And you find, by God, I've got a bit of a nick hit. It works, right? That works as a smoke alarm. But if you've got the right one where you live, there you go. I need to switch it off. There you go, switched off. So even in this atmosphere, if it's there for long enough, it'll set it off. It might not straight away, but when it's actually got through all of its bits and bobs, even vapour will set the smoke alarm off. And on that bombshell,
Yes.
here we are in what is still. It looks like one
Just
of those.
look at the clock,
I know,
Tracy, the
I can't
clock.
see the clock. That's the way it is. That's how bad it is in here. Look. As we said, if you know what you're doing and something like that appeals to you, that's great up to 120 watts. When the Typhoon is properly available, I'll go into detail on it. It's a cracking piece of kit, it really is. But until then, we ought to sign off, really, aren't we?
I think so, yeah.
I need to say a big thank you to everybody for sticking with us. I'm sorry I've been on your screens as much this week. It's had to be what it's had to be, and that's the way it goes. I've had a cracking week, and I want to say a big thank you to everybody for constantly tuning in and supporting. Please go and support NNA, go and get signed up for it, do that. Go and fill in the PHE survey and stuff like that, and most importantly, vape on. Vape hard and don't let the bastards grind you down. Until we see you on the flip side, take care of each other, sign up to the NNA, do the PHE thing, and keep on advocating. If you vape, advocate. Till we see you next time.
Bye. Good night.
Ta-da. Wrong button. That.
Supercigs.co.uk, sponsors of the Haze Hour.